This is great. I'm here today with Paolo Gaudiano, who is the author of Measuring Inclusion. I don't know if you have the book there. You can just maybe flash it at us, Paolo. There we go. And I see it's already sporting a little sticker. Do you want to just tell me about that before we get on with the LinkedIn?
That's correct. I was actually very fortunate that we applied for and won the Goody Business Book Award. That's a business book award that, as the name would imply, is especially for books that highlight topics of business that actually meld with the objectives of good societal outcomes. So I was very proud to receive that, because ultimately that's a lot about the work that I'm doing, is focused on making our society better.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And well, first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank
and secondly, congratulations on also being shortlisted for the Business Book Awards this year, which is what this LinkedIn Live series is all about. But we're always here for other awards as well. So if you haven't watched any of these lives before, Paolo is one of 22 authors shortlisted from Practical Inspiration in those awards. We are hugely excited and proud. It's very, very, very wonderful.
As you should be.
And Paolo, I just wanted to ask you, just give you a little bit of sort of background to the book, to people who perhaps aren't familiar with it. Why did you write this book?
I wrote this book because I've been working in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion for 10 years now. And as you might tell, I happen to be white, I'm male, I'm cisgender, I'm heterosexual. I'm not your typical person in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I came into it from a very analytical perspective. I felt that there was an opportunity to bring my prior 2.5 decades of experience to bear, combination of academic work and entrepreneurial R&D work. And I saw an opportunity to bring that work to quantify the potential benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion for leaders, to understand why they should do it, not just as a societal thing, but because it's good for their business. And as I started to do the work, I realized that the way that a lot of work in diversity, equity, and inclusion was being framed was likely to lead to backlash. And unfortunately, sadly, I was actually right. I predicted this back in 2018. And so 2 years ago, after we've been very successful at bringing this new way of thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion to a lot of parts of the economy, I thought, I really need to write this up. I really need to get the message out. I really need to emphasize the importance of this work as a way of really distinguishing from the more traditional kind of societally minded work in DI to one that is much more laser focused on business outcomes first and foremost, and on the well-being of employees as a very, very important outcome of that same work as well.
And it mattered then, but oh my goodness, it matters more than ever now, doesn't it? So just talk us through what's the importance of the book, do you think, to business and to the world?
Well, it's fun. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I remember you and I going back and forth about the subtitle, and as you may recall, I was very adamant. It's about higher profit and happier people, and with no guesswork or backlash. And I specifically talked about the backlash because, and in the book, there is, the entire front of the book. It introduces the methodology, it shows the data, it shows some of the work that we've done, and then I have 2 chapters where in one of them, I basically start pointing out some of the flaws and mistakes that people that are in DI have made. And then in the other chapter, I talk about some of the flaws and mistakes that people who have been opposed to DI have been making. As I mentioned, I predicted the backlash. I wrote an article in 2018 literally saying there will be this kind of backlash and it will expand to society. I had no idea that it was going to coincide with an overall political shift that unfortunately has turned diversity, equity, and inclusion into a bit of a political lightning rod. And the disaster has been a lot more devastating than I thought it would be. So I think that right now the timing is even more important, because I show very successfully why the traditional approaches to DEI have not been particularly fruitful, and that there is a way that can reconcile what seem like very disparate points of view. And in fact, I would argue that a lot of the political polarization, unfortunately, is creating narratives that are not really a realistic representation of what DEI should be all about. And so we find people screaming from the two sides, hating each other, where in reality, we all kind of want the same thing. We want to be able to get a job that we're qualified for. And then if we're good at that job, we want to be able to be rewarded for it and to be able to advance and be promoted. That's what people call a meritocracy. And what people in DI are saying is that, look, meritocracy is great, but you have to have some way of actually making sure that it is a meritocracy for everyone. I go a step beyond that in my work by showing that you actually need to quantify that. And there are ways of quantifying it that go beyond just counting heads. How many of these people, how many of those people? So right now, the timing is extremely important. I'm seeing a downtick in the business opportunities in terms of some of the quantitative work, but a tremendous uptick in interest in public speaking, training, leadership training, especially because people are realizing now that, especially with the backlash, we need to be better equipped. And as the pendulum starts to swing back, which it will, we need to make sure that the next wave of interest in DI is much more grounded in business and finance and much less grounded or not as reliant on arguments of fairness and justice.
Yeah, and I think that that sanity, the sort of data-based approach, the analytical, well, we do this because it's really good for business as well as for people. That's absolutely pure gold, and why we're very, very proud to have published the book. You weren't with us in the room, Paolo, when the shortlist was announced because you're in New York, which is fair enough. We were in London. Tell us, how did you find out and how did you react?
Actually, the first way that I found out was that our mutual friend and acquaintance, Nadia Nagamutu, who is another
who was in the room,
publisher, exactly, who's also noteworthy, she was there. And she immediately texted me on WhatsApp because, we've been communicating. We've seen each other outside of the, in a number of different contexts. And she was like, "Oh, congratulations." I was like, why, what happened? And I knew that the date was that, but I was not able to follow live. And so I was very pleased to hear that. And then, of course, when you sent out announcements, etc., it was very exciting. And I have to say, my only regret of being in New York is that by virtue of being an American author, I was only able to qualify for one of the categories, which is international business books. And that means that I'm up against some very stiff competition because it's any book that is international. There were other categories within the awards that I think would have been a very good fit. But I am super excited. I mean, just being selected as a finalist, again, given that it's a very broad category, was quite an honor and quite a recognition. And when I posted about it on social media and reposted some of your postings, I had a lot of congratulations from people because it is quite a privilege and really a very exciting honor to have been included in that list.
It is. I mean, you were up against extraordinary competition, and for every finalist, it's just phenomenal. We couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
I should say as well that Measuring Inclusion, and in fact all the Practical Inspiration shortlisted titles, are going to be 99 pence or 99 cents on your local Kindle store up to the period of the awards on the 10th of September. So if you're wondering what all the fuss is about, now is a really, really great time to find out at a kind of no-brainer price. You could get all of them really for the price of a book, which would be amazing. So do find that. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
We've got now till the 10th of September while the judging happens. So we will keep everything crossed until then, but we will also in that period just enjoy and bask in the delight of having you a finalist in such a prestigious award and category. So first Absolutely. Of all, congratulations. Secondly, good luck. And thirdly, thank you for your time today. It's really, really great to have that conversation about why you read the book, why it matters more than ever.
Well, and I want to thank you because I'll tell you, I was so glad when Nadia introduced us because it's been phenomenal working with you. I think that the record that you have achieved, which is just absolutely impressive, speaks volumes to the quality of the work that you do at Practical Inspiration. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Really grateful to be a part of this.
Thank you. That's really lovely to hear. Thank you. Goodbye.